Psalm 16 verse 11. In his presence is the fullness of
joy.
Come on. At his right hand are pleasures
fellowship.
forevermore. It's okay.
I'm trying.
We are learning.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Last Supper Club. My name is Swarzy and this is a brand new show that brings food and faith together. This time I thought I'd treat you with a little bit of jollof rice. I've got the plantain and not the plantain behind me. You see the guests are laughing already. Right, we're gonna chop it up. This is a brand new episode and I'm really excited to jump into John 2. We're gonna eat good food and have a good conversation. So come and sit down and join us.
What's good? My name is still Shadey. I'm a rapper, songwriter, and social entrepreneur. I take my platform back into the community. I invest in it. South London, Croydon's finest.
My name is Sarah Amankwah. I am a storyteller. I'm an actress, poet, painter. Whatever medium I find, I use it to tell stories.
Hi, my name is Raphael Sofoluke. I'm the founder and CEO of UK Black Business Show and UK Black Business Week.
Jojo is my name, my music claim, either Jojo or Joe, and I am a rapper and I make music for the world.
My belly is full. I'm really hoping that my jollof rice did its
Did
thing.
your thing, man.
Was it alright?
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I have this gorgeous wine here.
It was alright still.
I'm learning. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me. Thank you very much for having dinner. We're going to jump straight into John 2. And if you are not familiar with John 2, this is one of the most famous things that we ever hear. Jesus turns water into wine. But what is all of that about? I've got 4 very special guests to help me chop it up. But before we get into the text, before we get into any reading, the first question I want to put to you guys is, what is your most embarrassing moment? Your most embarrassing moment? Anyone can jump in. Shadey, you're looking like...
Nah, Joey's scratching his beard like, I feel like it's always shake down. Look at him.
Yeah, my most embarrassing moment, you know Croydon Town Centre?
Yeah.
I was young, I was probably about 15 years of age. At the height of my career, the height of my career.
You called it
if
a career
I see a nice
as well,
girl, I'm gonna approach her, yeah? So I'm cutting through Croydon, I'm with the man them, and I see a girl, yeah, in the distance outside McDonald's. So I start walking over, but I'm walking up there fast, yeah? The worst thing you could ever think to happen happened. Because obviously they even know who man is.
Nah, but you have to give man context as well. When you're approaching her, you're saying like, yo, my side.
Yeah, I've seen it from afar.
Man
Like
too.
I've shouted, like made it clear that, yeah, I want you. Like I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I made it clear. To get it. So walking over there, all the vim, all the confidence, and I tripped, but I didn't just trip. I dropped on my
I
knees.
ain't told you
Your
this before.
knees.
Oh my God.
No, that man used to wear wallabies.
Oh
They fell
my
off.
days.
Oh no, not
That
the trip and
was-
fall.
Did the Wallabies bust as well? Because you know early, like, the Wallabies was always...
Listen, I don't really get embarrassed, yeah, but that was embarrassing.
What did the girl say?
Everyone just laughed.
Oh.
I just look like a joke, man. Bro, I just look like a joke, man. So
Did you get to speak to her afterwards? Or you just went back?
maybe in the future. But that particular moment, yeah, I just
said, yeah.
I diverted and went the other direction. Yeah,
Oh.
that's my most embarrassing moment.
Okay,
so I
thank
can't
you very
lie
much,
to you.
Joey. Since you heated him, Shadey, let me come to you.
I don't have nothing to say. I'm still thinking about the Wallabies busting on the floor. Aye, but I'll say this: every Croydon boy knows how to recover. You know. What I mean?
Okay.
No, the fact.
So I think that's a beautiful parable, you know, of like even in the hardest of falls, God works it together.
Oh, here we go.
If there's
Here we
some
go.
people-
Oh, there we go. We'll click for you. We'll click
50
for
likes,
you.
50 likes already. Come on. I mean, I don't know. We were talking about this earlier, offset. Like, I don't really know. Embarrassing, but someone saving you from an embarrassing moment. I like. All right, we're talking about the wedding. I think we're gonna get into that later. Like, obviously, the boy's getting married. Come on, expensive. Yeah. Clap. More likes. Yeah, I mean, part of the whole experience that is kind of embarrassing because there's capacity.
Of course.
Some people ain't making it to the shubs. You know what I mean? And like, it's hard because literally just today, bro. Like I'm saying, like even now I'm talking, I'm like, yo, I even invited Raphael. So like it's awkward because you're no, you can come though, like evening thing. But like today, like literally someone's like, oh yeah, they said we got a gift registry. Someone sent a gift over to us, amazing. Got an iron, amazing for the new flat. And then they were like, oh, by the way, when's the wedding? And I was like, in January. But you can't really get into the details. Sorry if that was, well, it's hard. It's that, you get me? So I don't know. There's ways to recover. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough. These expenses, weddings are not a joke, man.
Yeah, weddings are P though. To be fair, we are going to get to a chapter all about a wedding. But for you guys, what's the best wedding you've ever been to?
Ooh.
And is it your own, Raphael?
It has to be your own.
Yeah,
It has to be your own. Yeah. My wedding was dope. I got married in 2016.
Congrats, man.
So yeah, a long time now. But it's one of those moments where there's not many moments in life where you get all the people you love in the same room. It's normally kind of your wedding and funeral. Do you know what I mean? So the wedding day it's one of the best days that you can have. You're partying with everyone that you love. So yeah, definitely that. But also, all of my friends' weddings are great for different reasons because, like, you follow their journey as a couple, and you're there just, so happy for them. But definitely your own wedding. Like, you can't beat your own wedding.
What's the highlight out of the whole 12, 13 hours? What's the main thing?
I can tell you smile a lot. Like your mouth hurts because you're literally doing fake smiles.
Get ready
Not
to
fake
smile.
smiles.
No, it is. It becomes fake smiles after because you're a celebrity like that.
Yeah,
You're
that's your
like
the
you're
guy.
going around
Your
taking
day.
pictures. Yeah, so it's proper. You're a
scary,
celebrity.
man.
But highlight definitely, of course. Once the vows are done, I shed a few tears when I was emotional. Yeah. I thought I was gonna but yeah, it just came.
Sorry, I'm not asking a better question. When your wife came down, did you cry when you saw her?
Yeah, like tears, like one just fun tear. Just came down.
Can I just say something? Can I just interject? Bro, you see Shadey, yeah? This brother for the last month has been posting on his story saying, I will not cry.
I don't think I can cry for that moment still. It's
Be
tough.
surprised,
Innit? It might catch you.
Nah, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably cry in the worship bit, but I don't know. But let's not get into that.
Yeah.
What about you, sir? How about you? What's your favourite wedding?
Well, me, I'm not married, so
Well, you're-
if y'all down. Anyway, I'd probably say two of my very close friends, David and Arena. For me, that they were the first Christian couple that I actually got to see get to that point.
Wow.
And I feel like God really used them as an example. Because I remember at that time, I was a Christian for a couple of years, and watching them date and really make it mean something, be intentional. I was like, wow, this can work. Like, because before, I grew up in a non-Christian household, and I sadly didn't have a good example of a marriage at home. So for me, for ages, I was like, nah, I'm not getting married. That's not for me. And then becoming a Christian and seeing other people go through that and really just be intentional about keeping God in the center. Their whole wedding was like, wow, these guys were so intentional, just about not even honoring each other, but honoring the groom's party, their guests. Like they had us, I was part of the bridal party. They had us dance. They're the most joyous couple you'll ever meet. Annoyingly so sometimes. You're like, oh, just stop being so happy, man. But we came down the aisle dancing, celebrating. We were literally worshiping the whole day. To the point where, when they were giving vows, it was just so deep and so enriched with love, and not just for the day, because you get people that are really just about the day. I look nice and da-da-da, and that's all fine. But it was very much we are future-proof in this thing.
That's good.
We're going all the way.
Yeah.
And I was blessed enough to share some poetry as well. And it was very, for me, I was really oh wow, this is more than what meets the eye. And they were really we just want to do this because Jesus is real and da-da-da. I was like, oh, really going in. This is really something.
Yeah.
So that's probably for me was
Weddings are
the
a big
best.
day, man.
Yeah.
That's a
100%.
huge
100%.
moment in life. Weddings.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that they were making the most of what marriage reflects. It reflects the gospel. So for them, it was like, we're not doing this without sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me was like,
Nice.
I would say the best.
What isn't it mad that yes, marriage does reflect the gospel, and then Jesus rocks up to someone's wedding. So like we're about to jump into John 2. It's actually wild to have the man and the God who represents all of this come and be at your wedding because he got invited.
That sounds like a motive.
Do you know what I mean? Jesus and his friends from John 1 that we saw last week came to this wedding. So I would love for you guys to jump in and read, and if it's okay for everyone to take 6 verses. Raphael, I'm going to kick it off with you. If you're following at home, we're reading from the NIV version. This is John 2, and we're going to start with verse 1.
Jesus changes water into wine. On the 3rd day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 80 to 120 liters.
Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stayed for a few days. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem.
In the temple courts, he found people selling cattle, sheep and doves, and others sitting at tables exchanging money. So he made a whip out of cords and drove out all of them from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned the tables. To those who sold doves, he said, "Get these out of here. Stop turning my father's house into a market." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for the house will consume me." The Jews then responded to him, "What sign do you show us to prove your authority to do all of this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days."
They replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you are going to raise it in 3 days." But the temple he had spoken of was his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples recalled what he had said. Then they believed the scripture and the words that Jesus had spoken. Now, while he was in Jerusalem at the Passover festival, many people saw the signs he was performing and believed in his name. But Jesus would not entrust himself to them, for he knew all the people. He did not need any testimony about mankind, for he knew what was in each and every person.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you. Yeah, thank you. You know, like last time we were talking, John 1 says, the word became flesh, meaning that Jesus or God put on a whole mental health, as Gabby said, a whole bodysuit, and really walked this earth. And you think, what would be the first miracle that God would ever do? And here we have a miracle done where Jesus turns water into wine. Because hear me, I'm bringing you my first choice wine. I'm giving you my best so that if you were to, have too much and I bring you the slur afterwards, you'll be like, Swarzy is out here. Do you know what I mean? But Jesus is like, oh my gosh, I see that you're going to run out of wine. That at the time, or even today, imagine you run out of wine at your wedding. Everyone's going to be talking about it on socials. Shadey's wedding ran out of wine.
God forbid,
you know what I mean?
there's going to be the Jews.
Exactly. So then Jesus is like, okay, well, take the same pots that were used for ceremonial cleansing, for the law, fill it to the brim. These guys are like, I don't understand what's going on. After the miracle, yeah. Like, they didn't even know what was going on.
Trust me.
Fill it to the brim, and the same jar that was going to be used to wash themselves is now the same jar that brings wine to a wedding to save a couple from embarrassment and their reputation and everything. So, and it's funny when the text says they didn't know what was going on, but they believed in Jesus and they followed and they did his commands.
Yeah.
And so this miracle is all to do with joy, man. It's all to do with grace. It's all to do with saving someone from the embarrassment. And so my next question just has to be, what miracle has Jesus done in your life? One that's maybe saved you from embarrassment, but has caused you to believe and follow him. So it may be something mad where he's changed something as regular as water in your life to wine and brought you about new joy. It could be anything, but what miracle has Jesus done in your life that has caused you to follow him?
Yeah, if I just jump in straight there, because you're saying a lot, even in the text itself, because when you read that story, it's crazy because, you know, Sarah over here, big time actor, March, come on. Like, we were just talking about, you know, some films need to be digestible to the common audience. They don't want it to be too deep. Yo, what's the storyline? Oh, sick. But then we really appreciate the layers to the story, the multiple entendres. And as you're saying, when you say the same basket that was used to produce this best wine was also the same basket that they're going to wash themselves, mad thing. Like, that's over your head. You have to read through the rest of the Gospels to understand that. You know what I mean? So when I think about a miracle in my life, I'm thinking about one thing that I thought was sick. Like, this got me out of a mad situation. But as I'm moving forward in my life, I'm really deep in, that situation was really mad. And it also, not only am I saved from it, but now I have the perspective, the literacy, and the ability to articulate what I came from to a community that needs to know that same truth. What am I talking about? I've been on the roads. I've been in an environment that was criminal, exploited, been in very traumatic situations. I escaped it in 2016. So to know that I can come out of that and look back and see some of the things that's happening to my peers, I think, mad thing, what? I got, you know what I mean? Back in the day, it didn't feel mad. But now it's like, what? I got my feelings back. I'm sensitive again. And then not only that, I have the ability to go into the schools, to talk about it on the stage when I'm performing and say, look, I know what this looks like. I've been through it myself, and I can tell you to tell in a way that you can prevail. So I think that's the greatest miracle that I want to highlight today. God saved me. He gave me my life back. He get me full effect, and it's beautiful that I can tell that same story to others. So yeah.
I'm going to go to Joey next.
The thing that is so funny, because there's so many things that I could say. Yeah, God has saved me from this, he saved me from that. The list is very broad, yeah. But one thing that I would say, and people don't, like, I'm just gonna be real, yeah, and just be raw, honest. I used to suffer from sleep paralysis nearly every single night, non-stop, yeah, since probably about the age of 5, yeah. Wow. And in that period of my life, I've grown up in a Christian home, so in my home, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to pray. They're going to either get pastors to pray for me, they're going to pray for me, but it never stopped. It used to happen. And when I say, some may not believe, some may believe, but when I say to the extent of it being where I would even see things in my room, do you get it? You know, like in certain horror movies, like Paranormal Activity, where they got people getting dragged out of their bed, things like that. Yeah, real. And I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and I'm going through this. And so what the devil wanted to do was instill fear in me from young. But what was actually happening on the flip side is that it was showing me that God is real. Because I was like, demons are real. This isn't fake. Like, I'm going to school at the age of 9 and I'm having arguments with people, telling them, no, God is real, because I've seen the other side of it. Yeah, real. You get what I'm saying? Sure. So at the age of 10, I remember, after all the years that so many people have prayed for me, I've heard prayers, I've heard all these things, I've heard people pray for me. So one night I decided, you know what? I was 10 years old, and before I went to bed, I prayed, yeah? And I prayed for God's protection over my life that night. And that night I had a dream, and in that dream, it was the same things that used to bother me every night, and I had victory in that dream over them. From that day, it completely stopped.
Wow.
And it was the power of prayer. Do you get me? And it's so funny because it's only now, later on in life, you start to understand. Like, okay, cool. God, why did you actually allow me to go through that? Because some people will say, right, if God is real, if God loves you, why is he letting you suffer? Because I was suffering. Do you get what I'm saying? People will be like, bro, why did he let you suffer? And it was my dad. And my dad was like, he told me this probably like 2-3 years ago, and he was like, you know what, God, I was praying and I was asking God, why did you allow him to go through that? And God literally just said to him that I was just teaching him spiritual warfare.
Wow.
I was just teaching him from a young age. But my dad didn't know that. I knew there's no one on earth that couldn't come to tell me God is not real, because I've seen the other side. Do you get what I'm saying? So I knew without a shadow of a doubt that God is real, because he showed up for me. So you get what I'm saying? So that's
Amen, man.
Come on, man.
Oh my God,
This
these
is a
stories.
deeper space.
Yeah.
And you feel it?
Deeper, but it's real life.
Yeah.
We
It's
need
what people don't
miracles.
really.
And you know, when we're talking about spiritual warfare, we're talking about light and dark.
Yeah.
We're talking about just the crazy things that we don't see every day that's happening.
Every
day.
You know, in the social media,
every
on the
single
things
day.
that we digest. I'm sure you see it in the industry of that of drama and creativity. Every day something is
Something's
being
going on.
projected.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're seeing that from young and recognizing the depth of how bad it is it's real.
That's
You know what I
serious,
mean?
bro.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Wow.
And I guess tying into both of your stories, to throw in mine, when I think of miracle, I think of a sign, right? And a sign's purpose is to point you to something or someone. So I think for me, looking back, one of those miracles was through my eldest brother. So when he was 17, he was attacked in the area that we grew up. We kind of spent most of our lives in Hertfordshire, right, at the time. So obviously we grew up in Tottenham, North London. That's
okay.
in 17. No, it's fine. Have to, you know, for the people in the room, just have to let them know, you know, Tottenham. It's fine. I'm safe. But yeah, when we moved there, obviously we grew up in a predominantly black community, so to go to an area where they got NF spray painting on the walls, so we didn't know what that was. You know, we're just carrying on with our lives. So fast forward now, this incident happens, and he's on life support. He, you know, he basically gets jumped by 2 white guys. So he's coming home from a rave, and yeah, he nearly lost his life. Basically, it did a lot to our family, and even to this day, there's a lot of trauma that's not dealt with. And obviously, for an African family, you know, my parents are immigrants. We don't have time to be dealing with, you know, we have to keep going, we have to keep moving.
Crazy.
So all of that's happened, and obviously, you know, we're not Christians, you know, my parents kind of culture would say they are, but like we're just carrying on. So fast forward, my brother's going through life. He's got depression, he's got anger issues, you know, so many things that he's dealing with on top of being a teenager, being a black boy in London. So he has this, I guess, nervous breakdown, he would call it. And at the time, he was living with some Christians, I think maybe 2, and he just asked them to pray for him. So kind of through his journey of coming to realize his worth and his value in Christ, God really used his life as a sign for me. And obviously looking back, again, you might think, well, you know, why do you have to go through all of that? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And I know full well the Lord knows how much I look up to my older brother. There's no other person. Like, when he's set on something, he's like, no, I'm going to church. Okay. Like, my dad's on the phone, like, hey, my dad's gone mad. He's going to 29 cities. Like, what's going on? But his convictions were so strong.
Yeah.
So for me to follow,
So good, man.
like, honestly, it could only be the Lord. So I feel like looking back at the experience that he went through and obviously the experience I went through as well, and almost losing a sibling, God definitely used that for me to kind of come to knowing and understanding who he is.
Amazing.
So I feel like that was my sign through my
Amazing.
brother.
Amazing.
It is. Amen. Thanks, Aya. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Raphael?
Yeah. I think definitely kind of my life, I would say is the miracle for me, just because what I loved about this verse was, as you mentioned, talking about how the jar was, you know, it was dirty, it was supposed to be used to wash, but actually they turned it into something so much greater. And a lot of people look at me now and they're like, they can't believe it's the same person, you know, that was doing this back in the day. They're just really like, they're shocked. Like they try to even separate the two. So I even used to rap they almost say that was that person, and now you're Raphael.
Wow.
So
You
I
gotta
feel
plug
like
that though, bro. I'm trying to. He's rapping in confession. Make sure.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like God really just kind of changed my life. And when you talk about when you're saved, I remember when I was at home and then my brother was swearing. I was like, why are you swearing? Like, I was just getting annoyed at little things. And when I was at work, you know, they'll be like, oh, you never do this, you never do that. And actually in the Bible, when it says, you know, when you let your light shine, it was like people just noticed the change in you. And people were saying, oh, what's different about you? People were asking that, you know, all around me. So I think, you know, definitely the way kind of God has changed my life from, you know, when I was young, I remember when I lost people when I was young who kind of got murdered, etc. A lot of people, some people were grateful, oh yeah, made it to 18. I remember, oh yeah, at least he made it to 18 though. They haven't even lived, I'm 32 now, so thanking God for where he's brought me out of. He's got a missus, got 2 kids, got another little one coming in March.
That's a miracle in itself. Like, bro, birth, life is blowing.
Yeah, and for my missus as well, because actually she kind of brought me to the gospel, but actually we had a break and I actually found God for myself. She was pushing it on me so much and it just didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work, but actually when we took a break from each other, that's when I found, and it wasn't because I wanted to get back with her, it was just because I actually just wanted to find out more. And that was, for me, that's been kind of beautiful. Another miracle that I would say I haven't really spoken about, it was actually my dad. He was in Croydon actually, and then I think he had like a heart murmur where his heart, and then he collapsed and he fell onto the train station. And I think it's deep in the Croydon, like it's the overground. So I got a phone call that your dad collapsed, he fell onto the train station, come to the hospital. All I'm thinking is I'm going to see that they're just telling me to come. But actually when I got there, I've heard the story that a group of people pulled him up before the train came. And he was there, he had like head injuries, but it was fine. But all on the way, I was just praying, God, please keep him safe, etc. Because you hear people fall on the tracks all the time, and that's it. For me, that's like one of the biggest miracles that I've ever heard. So
miracles, man.
I feel like I should just share mine real quick. Then, not only because you guys have proper inspired me, but it's just my testimony. At 14, I got caught shoplifting. I think we were just sharing about it before. And like, I was just living my best life. Like, I was even good at it. So when boss man caught me, I said,
what was you stealing, Swarzy?
Do you know the rookie mistake was?
All the record. You know when you're nearly on your way out and then they've been watching you on the camera, you think you made it?
You say that from experience.
Yeah, but I was shoplifting, come on.
I left the hanger in the changing room and he was
you should have put it in the
rookie move. But he stopped me and I remember he made every guest leave, you know, every shop person leave. He made everyone scatter.
One to one.
He was making you an example.
Listen,
at you.
The exposure. And even
you were a
that
case
leads to
study.
of how to make sure someone feels the burn. And I remember standing there thinking, I'm actually in the wrong. Like, there's nothing I could even do. And even the question in the first one of what's your most embarrassing, that embarrassment, the heat of watching people walk past me knowing I've been caught red-handed. And all I remember him saying was, the police is coming. And I said, Mr. Bossman, if my mum catches me, in a police car, there's no punishment. My mum will deal with me differently. Like, there is no need to put me in a police car. But I remember thinking, God, if you are real, and my family, you know, we went to church for Christmas and for Easters, but we weren't practicing Christians. I said, God, if you are real, get me out of this situation. I will never shoplift again, and I will follow you.
Ultimate impress.
Literally.
If you do this.
My last one. My last one. Never again.
I know I said it yesterday, but today, never again.
Bro.
So I just remember praying that, and I don't know who I was praying to because I didn't even know who God was.
Yeah.
But as soon as I said amen,
Grace.
the guy said, just go.
Wow. Bro.
And I was like,
it was the Lord.
It must have been the Lord. So
Holy Spirit just whispered in Bossman's ear like,
put down the phone.
Not this one.
he's like, don't touch her. Don't touch her.
She opened the door.
Wow.
And I just
Mad
went home. And funny enough, shouts goes out to Lissy. We went same school. She was like, my mum goes City Gates in Ilford. Why don't you come City Gates? Why don't you come church?
Wow.
So we went to a youth group on a Friday night. Little did I know, I walked into a testimonial night. People were going to the front, sharing their all sorts of nonsense and whatever they'd done. And I was like, you lot must believe in this Jesus guy, because there's no reason for you to be at the front airing your dirty laundry unless you did not believe you were forgiven, born again, and actually whatever your past is, it doesn't bear any weight on you.
Come on.
So I just heard that Jesus came as God and died and rose again, and in him alone there's freedom.
That's right.
Yeah, like that was my testimony. That was my miracle moment. And yeah, we give thanks. We give thanks. Like all of it comes back down to John 2. So many miracles around the table. We give thanks, man. We give thanks for all the stories that you've shared. And so it leads me nicely to my last question. And looking at this wedding in particular, looking at this couple and how they just had joy at their wedding because Jesus really came through and made sure that their wine was overflowing so they did not have to face the embarrassment of finishing the wine. What does new joy in Jesus look like for you all in a brand new year? Joey, let me start with you.
Yeah, no, for me, I've realised as I've walked with Christ, and I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe Christ was real. And it's been since I was 18. I'm 30 now, by the grace of God. And for me, I've realized even on this walk with Christ and life in general, for every human being, life is never linear. It's never a straightforward journey. You got your ups and downs, you got your low days, you're in the valley, then you got your high days. So everything's always up and down. But for the fact that because I've realized that life is never linear, I understand that I can't draw my happiness from the sources. Can't be from people, can't be from money, can't be from my career, it can't even be from family. These are all temporary things that are there. But in the coming year and in the times going on, I can only draw my source of joy from Christ Jesus. And it's almost like when I've gone through things where I'm low, like I'm sure we've all had our very low days. I know when I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? Where am I going to look to? And in them situations, it's almost like the Spirit of God is able. It's like a package that He has that He's able to dip into and draw out some joy. And it's like it gives you strength. And so people will see me, and because I wear my stress well, like there's no way the things that I've seen and I've been through, you wouldn't know unless I told you. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? And it's only because I look to Jesus. I can't say that it was, obviously there's therapy and there's people you can speak to, but it's only because I look to Jesus. So even we just come out of COVID, and through all of the madness that just happened, people lost so many family members and so on and so forth. And even in them situations, I would just divert people to look to Jesus. We do not know what could happen in the next year. We got plans, we got desires, we want to do this, we want to do that. But even in all that, we don't know the end goal. We can't even sit here and say what's going to happen 20 minutes from now. So even in all that, I'm just like, look to Jesus, because He will always have that package of joy to draw from when you're going through your hardship. So that's good. Literally.
I just wanted to quote a psalm because mine was going to be exactly the same thing. Psalm, which is one of my favorite psalms, Psalm 16 verse 11. In His presence is the fullness of joy. Come on. At His right hand are pleasures forevermore. It's okay.
I'm trying.
We are learning. But yeah, just the fact that regardless of circumstances, one, if we place our satisfaction on this earth, as it quotes in Proverbs, I believe, the heart of man is never satisfied. You're always going to be chasing after something. Whatever you strive to gain, you have to strive to maintain. So the reality in that when we place it in Christ, He's everlasting. You know, He's rich in joy. He's rich in mercy. So for me, I think of that verse when I think of that question. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
That's good.
Shadey?
I mean, joy isn't predicated on what is happening around you. So, yeah, a lot of things have happened over the past year. I've seen some massive accomplishments. You know, I just picked up my first MOBO.
Say it like it was a hot chocolate.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, but that's where I want to be. I don't want to hold it too high, because I'd rather us live low.
That's right.
So I think, I think I've learned at this point, and I'm still learning, that despite the highs and the lows, joy is something and it's a place that's more safe. Even in when I don't know what's about to happen next, there is a greater amount secure. If I was to celebrate anything, it would be the 4th of December 2016. It's when I gave my life to Christ. I just did 6 years, like just a month ago, you would say. So yeah, that's the greatest truth. I'm still going, and wherever I'm going next, there's a security at the end of the tunnel. So that's it for me, man.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, you know, appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget how much God does for us on a daily basis. Even just, you know, getting out your house and getting to work safely. You know, God's protecting you. So many people die from, you know. So I think 2023 is, you know, really just kind of appreciating all the things that God has done for me, my family, where he's taken me as well. And not to be too fixated. Again, like as an entrepreneur, you can be so fixated on what's the next thing. And so interesting, Shadey just mentioned the MOBOs. So it's just the MOBOs. But it's sometimes you can, like, there's things that happen in my life that are so amazing, but then you're like, oh, cool, on to the next one. But I think it's also important to just thank God, appreciate him.
That's true.
For everything, because it's, you know, it's a big accomplishment. So I just want to be, really kind of show more gratitude to God on a daily basis next year. Good. That's what I'm,
Man, that's really encouraged me, you know, like my joy is this. My joy is really hosting a Bible study in Big Canary Wharf.
Come on.
With my friends. Like, I pray for 2023, there's more dates, more to come.
This is super
thank
sick,
you,
Swarzy,
man. Nah, man, thank you. It's all him here. Amen. The wine will continue to be on tap. We thank you very much for joining us at the Last Supper Club. If you've got miracles or you've got new joy in 2023, drop a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. And until next time, we're going to go get some food. But yeah, join us. It's the Last Supper Club. We'll see you soon.
So the Last Supper Club, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think we need more things like this. I'm a genuine believer that we need more things where people can sit down and talk about real life. And this is something, even though it's only the beginning, this is something that I believe can stem into a platform where people can come together, all different walks of life, and sit at a table and actually be real, raw and honest without being judged. So yeah, man, it's beautiful.
Yes, shout out to Swarzy for the food, especially that bean stew, that was fire. The Last Supper Club is community, it's fellowship, it's sweet gist, it's joy, and I think it's a reflection of what's to come in heaven, I believe.
The Last Supper Club was absolutely fantastic. Just to be able to kind of sit around with other Christians, you know, share our stories, share our knowledge, and inspire each other is something rare that you don't get to do. So I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much to Swarzy and the team. Food was delicious as well. I can still taste it as I'm speaking now.
Swarzy, she's a person that can speak. She's a person that can bring individuals from different places together, and I've got to respect that because there's so many people that are separated. So let's start celebrating an individual that's making destiny in the making.